Facebook knows everything you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Google, because there's something called a Facebook pixel. It's code that's on every website basically out there.
Mm-hmm.
So they can see your browsing even off the platform.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for shoes, you're going to see shoes in your Facebook feed.
Mm-hmm. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Real Estate Disruptors. So we got Bryan Driscoll with Motivated Leads. And Bryan flew in from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to share how he earned over $5 million in real estate. Built over $5 million in real estate as a side hustle. And I'm really looking forward to this episode because in the short time I've known Bryan, he's probably one of the biggest go-givers I've met in this space. Now, I am on a mission to create 100 millionaires, and the information on this show alone is enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you will become one. And we also know the fastest way to become a millionaire is to get good at sales. And so our sales community was launched just 2 weeks ago today, and the community members are already closing more sales. If you haven't checked it out, go to salesdisruptors.com to surround yourself with sales assassins from across the country. And the show is brought to you by our sister company, InvestorLift. Get access to over 2 million cash buyers across the country. Go to investorlift.com, put in Disruptors to get 10% off. And if you get value today, please hit that subscribe button. That way we can all grow together. And there's a live show, so please ask your questions for Bryan to answer. You ready?
Ready.
All right. So first question is, what was your life like right before you got into real estate?
Well, I'll start at the beginning. My life, I was in high school, right?
Okay.
I went to Ron LeGrand seminar. You know Ron.
Ron. Oh, yeah.
Went to one of his seminars back in the back of the room, paid his $1,800, got his course.
In high school.
Right. Yeah. When I was 18, like right when I graduated, my dad took me to a seminar.
Wow. Okay.
So I did that, failed miserably. Right. And back then we weren't doing digital or anything. It was like, go put We Buy Houses ad in the classifieds.
Mm-hmm.
Had a whole bunch of people coming in and I didn't know what to do with them. But yeah, that's where I was starting. I was just young, green, didn't know anything. And just, my dad was always into real estate. He always liked it. So I'm like, yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah. So your dad brought you to a seminar.
Yep.
How was that experience, having your dad bring you to a seminar?
It was cool.
Okay. Well, I'm only asking this because my dad used to bring me to seminars
Uh-huh.
way before 18, right? I want to say maybe 12, you know?
Mm.
And he'd bring me, or maybe even younger. And I was like, what are all these old people talking about? Why am I here? And I hated it. And he'd always buy these cassettes because they always upsold you to the cassettes.
Yeah.
And my mom would always be upset, so angry, like, why are you going to these things? Why are you buying these cassettes? And you're not doing anything with all this. And so I got to witness that as well. And, you know, I got a chance to speak at We Live 19.
Mm.
That was Max Maxwell's event. The headliner was Gary Vee. I was stoked to get to share a stage with, Gary Vaynerchuk. And I told my dad about this. I said, Dad, I'm going to be speaking at this event. And the first thing he says to me, gut reaction, don't buy anything. It's like, Dad, I'm the speaker.
Right.
So anyway.
It's funny too. 'Cause I was the same way. Like I remember when I was like 8 or 9, sitting in a car, like Zig Zig. He always had, you're right, the cassettes. It was a book of cassettes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And always Jim Rohn, Zig Ziglar. I used to just fall asleep.
Yeah.
But I think, and Tony Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
and I think like in the back of my head, those ingraining those things. And I didn't like those at the time, but yeah,
Right.
it's like putting it in your head.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful for it, and it probably laid such a strong foundation, but I was so not ready for it. I was so resistant to all of it. So right out of the gate, out of high school, Ron LeGrand, you took action, you're doing classified ads, you didn't know what to do with it.
Failed. And you know what's weird? I had all these people. These are sweet deals.
Mm.
They call me up, like, hey, we want to do a deal. Like, okay, cool. And I couldn't make it happen.
What part were you struggling with the most that you say you couldn't make it happen?
Like I was dealing with, I didn't know how to, it's like, oh yeah, you can get all these houses with none of your own money, all this kind of stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. It didn't make sense in my brain. It's like, okay, well, I don't have any money. I'm trying to talk these people into giving me their property, things like that. Mm-hmm. I wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
It just didn't click for me.
Right.
You know?
So then when did things start working for you?
Like 15 years later.
15 years later?
Yeah.
Okay. So you got into real estate and you quote unquote failed.
Yeah, twice.
There's
another one too, yeah.
Okay. So you did that. It went nowhere. And then what? Did you go to college? Did you do something else?
I went to college for like 8 days. Wasn't really my thing.
Well, at least you found out quick.
Right.
Okay. So you went to college for 8 days. It wasn't your thing. Why was it not your thing?
I mean, I'm just not built like that. I'm sitting in a classroom. I remember I'm sitting in a classroom talking math and they're talking all this homework.
Mm-hmm.
Like, dude, this is like, And I was working a job too. I was working at Comcast at the time.
Okay.
And I was one of the top sales guys in the U.S. And I was making really good money. I'm like, and Comcast was paying for us. Yeah, you want to go to school, they'll pay for it. And I just remember sitting there. I'm like, this is boring.
Mm-hmm.
And I was making a lot of money at a young age, which was a problem.
Yeah.
Because like we'd go drinking and do all kind of nonsense, get in a lot of trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, college just wasn't it.
So you were making a lot of money selling internet?
Yeah, I was the guy you called selling internet and phone and cable.
Okay. And when you're saying you're making a lot of money at that time, what kind of money were you making?
It was over 6 digits.
Over 6 digits?
Yeah, when I was like probably 20, 21,
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, it's going to require a ton of discipline for someone who's making $100,000 without a college degree to continue college.
Right.
It's like, because there's not, what more upside are you pursuing that college can do for you at that point?
Right. And
Yeah.
I didn't even like high school. Like I skipped a lot. I just wasn't built for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was always the guy like just not going.
So then you said you failed the second time. What was the second failure?
So second time I got involved with, well, after Ron LeGrand, I got involved with digital marketing, right?
Mhm.
And then I got involved with one of my buddies. We were doing digital marketing in a pre-construction real estate in 07. So we were going back and forth to Florida, getting involved with all this kind of stuff. And I was dealing with more on the sales side. They're like, hey, you know what? You'll be the sales guy. We'll generate the leads. You sell them. It's good. Turned out to be a scam. Like it was like flat out scam.
Like Swampland.
No, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like the guy was taking people's money, just like ripping people off.
Yeah.
But
So
I
it's
was
100% profit for him.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't doing, I had a house. I
Mhm.
pulled my equity out of the property to fund this.
Oh, man.
And I was going back and forth to Florida, getting a real estate license, doing all this stuff, and literally just failed miserably.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that was number 2.
So you were helping another guy with his pre-construction sales, and you were doing the Facebook or the digital marketing to get his leads so he can sell these pre-construction.
No, my buddy Phil was doing the digital marketing.
Okay.
This guy, his name was Mark, down in Orlando.
Mhm.
So Phil's over here doing digital marketing. He's like, hey man, we got a good opportunity. We're generating a ton of leads. This Mark guy down here is hooking people up with properties. So Phil's over here. He's like, hey, just run these leads, sell them. We're going to make a bunch of money.
Mhm.
So me and Phil both got screwed.
So you're closing deals
Right.
as a sales guy
Mhm.
on something that didn't exist.
Yeah. It was
Ugh.
pre-construction real estate. So it didn't exist yet. It's like, hey, buy in the first phase. And then 2008 happened. It's like
Mhm.
everything just disappeared.
Got it. Okay. So that was your second real estate venture.
Yeah, that one hurt.
Why did it hurt?
That one hurt bad. So number one, financially it hurt. And I had so much vested in that. And it was kind of like a snowball type of thing. I ended up losing my freaking brain.
Mm-hmm.
Like losing my mind. Like my mom said, like, you got to go get 302'd. Right?
What's 302?
It's like they stick you in a mental ward. Because
Okay.
I wasn't sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
It's like sometimes I'd get all wrapped up. I'm like, dude, I got to go. And I saw it going down and I just run.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one, it took me a long time to recover from that.
What about it specifically broke you?
I think a lot of money, like the goal of, okay, yeah, here's a shiny object over here.
Okay, so a lot of money. Let's start there. So
Yeah.
how much money did you lose?
Well, I lost 40K, but the thing that got me was the shiny object, like the you can see a lot of money,
Mhm.
right? So going after that, and then it got me going down, running at it, and it's like I'm gonna work as hard as I can to make this happen. And then I start not sleeping, things like that, like working through the night.
Mhm.
That's where the problems happened there. So it was a combination. It was like the perfect storm.
All right, so
Of
this
failures.
financial distress, emotional distress, and then on top of that, physical distress.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I can totally get that. So this is 2008, right?
Yeah. Give or take.
And then how did you eventually get back into real estate then?
So I got into real estate probably about 10 years ago now. So this 2014.
Mm-hmm.
I got back into it, and I was originally looking on Craigslist for a house to live in.
Mm-hmm.
So I find this guy, he's a wholesaler. So I go check out the property. I'm like, okay, cool. This is a good deal. It's
Yeah.
like $130,000 property, $230,000 neighborhood. I'm like, this makes sense. You're a wholesaler. I'm cool with that. Whatever your fee is, good with that. And that's what got me back into real estate. I wasn't getting into it as an investor. I was actually looking for my own property. I just wanted a deal.
Yeah,
So that was my gateway back into it. And that's where it started.
that's when you got hooked.
That's where I got hooked.
Okay, so you bought a property, and did you move into that property?
I did.
Okay, you still own it?
I do. I've never sold a property.
Never sold a property.
Nope.
And that's huge. That's one of the things that I've heard from a lot of the folks that are a lot older and more wiser than us, was their biggest regret was ever selling any of their properties.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. So good. So you bought that property and you still have it. So what did you do? You moved into that one.
Mm-hmm.
So then obviously you're not flipping that one, at least not immediately.
Right.
So what'd you do after that?
So I got that property. I lived there. Everything's good. Took a normal loan out, all that kind of stuff. Then I found another deal on Craigslist.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, it was a sweet deal. At least I thought at the time it was pretty good. And he was another wholesaler. So what I did was I bought it cash. Then I fixed it up and I pulled my cash back out. So I did the burr method.
Got it.
I got this property. It was like $33,000 in a nice neighborhood, probably like worth 105, 110.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't do any inspections, anything like that. Then I got the property. I found all the plumbing needed replaced. Like it was one of those deals, so you turn the water on in the bathroom and it leaked in the basement, like rained.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So that was my first rental property.
Mm-hmm.
That's and then ever since then I just keep doing the same thing.
So then, has your story then this venture you've been going through is predominantly buying from other wholesalers?
No. So I saw the wholesale fee on that,
Mm-hmm.
and I was talking with my buddy Chad. You know Chad.
Yeah.
And like, dude, I think we could probably generate our own leads.
Mm-hmm.
So we slapped up a Carrot website, started generating leads, and we crushed it.
Is Chad the one that you were partners with on the whole Florida fiasco?
No, but I met him through the same guy.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that was Phil. That's right.
Phil, yep.
Okay. So you and Chad, so you buy one, you buy a second one, you're like, we can do this.
Right.
So then you connect with Chad through that fiasco. What was Chad's specialty at this time?
So Chad and I got into digital marketing like in 2003 doing SEO, like in freelance. Chad was doing paid marketing, like Facebook ads and pretty much Facebook ads in the e-commerce space.
Okay.
So I met him and we'd always share business back and forth. He'd be like, hey, this guy needs some help. Or I'd say, hey, I need someone to do Facebook ads.
You guys are good collaborators to refer one another.
Exactly. Yeah, because SEO is ranking in the free section of Google. Facebook ads, like, most people don't do both. Like as a contractor, as a freelancer,
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we met that way.
Okay, so you brought him in, and how long from when like, hey, we can do this, to like your first contract?
That's a good question. I don't know. It happened fairly quick. Well, you know what? No, I take that back. So the way we did it was, I only want to invest in one zip code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we started marketing.
Even then?
Just in general.
Okay.
Yeah, even then.
Okay.
Maybe like I was in like 3 zip codes or something back then. I don't want to go that far.
Right.
So we started generating a ton of leads. And I hooked up with Dustin, you know him from CG.
Mm-hmm.
Then I hooked up with another guy, Joe. So what I was doing is we were generating all these leads coming into Pittsburgh. Because you can only market to the whole city, not in one zip code.
Right.
Like, I don't want these places. Like, but we're getting them all. So I went on the Facebook Marketplace, or not Facebook, one of the Facebook real estate groups. I'm like, hey guys, who in here wants leads and wants the JV? And I found some guys and they kept burning me. Like I'd send guys leads and free leads aren't valued.
Right.
I found.
Yeah.
So
free anything isn't valued.
Right. So I'd send them leads. I'm like, hey, and they wouldn't track them, things like that. So I'd keep getting burned. But I met a guy named Joe and Dustin, and they had their stuff in order.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd send them deals and we just split them.
Yeah.
And that's how we started. It's like, okay, we're making money here.
So when was this? You said it was 10 years ago that you're like, okay, I'm gonna get back into this business.
Yeah.
And then the second house, you're like, we can do this. So really, like 10 years ago was the launch of you guys buying houses again, for your own deals.
Right.
And you just start off with a carrot site.
Yep.
And you're only targeting one zip code.
Right.
And anything that you couldn't, that fit outside, that wasn't in your buy box, you wholesaled, and a bunch of people kind of squandered it.
Yeah.
Why was it so important in the beginning to have 1 or 2 or 3 zip codes?
I don't want to go that far. So I got a property.
Like you don't want to get in the car and drive?
Yeah, I don't want to get in the car and drive. Yeah.
Okay.
That's exactly what it is. I don't want to get in the car and drive. Because there's a reason though. I bought a property. It was probably like 25 minutes from me. It's in Peters Township, real nice neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought it, and I was managing contractors myself at that time. So I'm meeting them like 3 times a week, 4 times a week. It's like half an hour there, talk to them, half an hour back.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is a freaking time suck.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing real estate for my full-time gig. This is just my side hustle.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have that much time because I'm running a digital agency.
Right.
Like, I don't have time for this. Like, I'm working. Here's what my schedule looked like back then: 5 in the morning till 8 in the morning. I'm running a side hustle, digital. Had a normal job. And then after that, I'm running a side hustle and I'm going to bed. So, you know what I mean?
So what was the first side hustle?
Digital marketing.
Digital marketing.
Yeah, digital marketing.
So you're doing PPC on Facebook for random business owners.
SEO. Yeah, I was doing SEO.
You were doing SEO for random business owners. You had the 9 to 5. What was your 9 to 5?
I come from the insurance background, family business.
Mm-hmm. So this your family's insurance?
Yeah, family's insurance business.
Okay. So you got your family gig,
Right.
your family business, doing insurance during the day.
Right.
And then you got the real estate side hustle in the evening.
No, the real estate was just in between.
In between.
It's just
wherever it fit.
Well, it depends. Like whenever you get someone who wants to sell their house, it's like you got to jump on it.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's a really important caveat here, not to like, well, I actually want to highlight this, so not to undercut in any way, but like if you want something done, you give it to a busy person.
Right.
Right. So you decided one zip code because it was too time consuming for you to get on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you still in the insurance business?
No.
Okay. And
that was hard to get out of too, because it's a family business.
Yeah.
Like I was making 3 times the money in digital marketing, but it's like it's your family.
Right.
So
you had the insurance thing going. Your side hustle is now your main business.
Right.
Right. But you still got this conviction of one zip code.
Right.
Why is that still important?
Well, I want to build wealth.
Mm-hmm.
So real estate, I like real estate a lot. Well, number one, I got issues mentally, right? Like I call it goal-driven depression. So like I set big goals, but when I hit a goal, like I remember my first property, the one that I was doing on myself, it's like, okay, stressed out, and then it's done. Like, what's next?
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'd get down. So I decided then, and I did another one. I'm like, wait a minute. Like this is it's happening because I'm hitting the goal and I don't have things after it.
Mm-hmm.
So initially I'm like, I'm just always going to buy houses. I'm just going to keep buying houses for that reason.
Right.
And then I realized it's like, I'm creating $100,000 each deal in like 60 days. So it's like, it's good.
Right. So you're talking about goal-driven depression.
I made that up. I don't know if that's really what it's called, but.
Well, what I've called it was achievement addiction.
Okay.
Right. You achieve, and it's like the best embodiment of this is Bill Belichick. Right. Like he might crack a smile when he wins the Super Bowl. He might. Right. But he's thinking about next season on the drive home.
Right.
Right. And I think that's probably what you're describing here.
Yeah. It's like you don't even celebrate.
There's very little dopamine in the success.
Right.
You've got all this drive, all this sacrifice, all this desire, but then you hit your milestone, and like it's about the same amount of dopamine you would get from like people sharing one of your Facebook posts.
Right.
It's
ridiculous.
It's not very commensurate.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so you got this thing going. It doesn't take a whole long time. And then you figured something out with Joe and Dustin in Pittsburgh. What was the next step then? Was it selling more leads, or was it quitting the insurance?
So, quitting insurance came from. Well, they were both going at the same time.
I know.
Yeah.
But you had to make it. You had to make a decision at that point. There wasn't like you can just keep sustaining this.
Right. So the insurance, and it was a tough discussion with my dad too. I'm like, hey man, I'm making a lot of money here, but I don't want to screw you. And he told me, he's like, you know what? You have to.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go do that. He's like, so it was a good thing there. But yeah, I had to, it wasn't selling the leads. It was more in the digital marketing space when I just left.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I got to do this.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was tough to work up the courage to talk to your dad, but he made it really easy.
It was the whole thing's hard working with family.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if you've ever worked with family. There's a lot of dynamics going.
There are a lot of dynamics there.
So you're working with family, and it's like I feel like I'm screwing them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, okay, now I've been here for 15 years. I learned it all. I know everything inside. Now I'm gonna leave you high and dry.
Right, see you guys.
Yeah, and in his eyes, he's like, which I got kids too. I hope I think like this when they're older. It's like, no, you need to go do that. Like that's in your best interest. I want what's best for you.
Mm-hmm.
So it made it easy for me. But you still got the guilt.
Right.
Like you still feel it. I'm Catholic too. It's probably just Catholic guilt,
Catholic guilt is strong.
Right.
Okay, so you shut this down, or you leave the insurance side. From 10 years ago, when did motivated leads become a thing?
Motivated leads became a thing 3 years.
2.5,
3 years ago.
Okay. So you were still doing this whole time, the insurance thing this whole time then?
Yeah.
7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So talk to me about like motivated leads then. Like what exactly is motivated leads?
Yeah, so motivated leads started with me and Chad. We're like, hey, you know what? Let's try something. And we started it with no money. We start a little bit of money. I'm like, I'll throw in $1,000, you throw in $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
We'll make a landing page. We'll see what happens. If we get clients and it works, good. And if not, we're just gonna kill it. We'll keep doing what we're doing because we were doing really well
Mm-hmm.
in the marketing, and we crushed it there.
Yeah.
So motivated leads. Initially, when we started, we help people generate leads through. We were doing Facebook ads and Google pay-per-click and SEO,
Mm-hmm.
and people would hire us to do their marketing for them.
Yeah.
And that's where we started. It's the same thing we've always been doing, except we specialize now on local level versus dealing with like national bigger companies.
What do you mean local level?
Like most people invest, like you invest in Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
I invest in Pittsburgh. Our clients before that were e-commerce or like national companies. So we do market for the whole nation versus local is a lot easier. It's less competitive.
Right. Got it. So real estate is still just purely a side hustle. You don't get a ton of passion out of it.
I like it, but it's a side hustle.
You like the money from it or you like the real estate from it?
I like everything about it. Like I don't necessarily think I'm money driven,
Mm-hmm.
but money is like the scorecard.
Right.
If you're doing well, you know what I mean? So I like real estate. I like buying junky stuff and fixing it.
Mm-hmm.
I like other people paying it off, and I like getting houses for free.
Yeah.
I like the game of it.
I like that last
figuring
part a
it out.
lot.
The free part.
The free part. I haven't figured that one out yet. At least not in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I like that part a lot. I think the lowest I ever got and bought a house was like $23,000, and that was in the lower market, not this market.
Well, I don't get them for free though. It's just I get my money back. Like I don't have any cash into them.
Yeah. So, but even then, Burr model is a lot different in Phoenix than it is in most other markets. So if we're gonna be doing for free, we got to do creative strategies here. It's not gonna be Burrs out here.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So then, in doing the digital marketing, right? Because obviously this is the route you're going through. Who helped you grow your digital marketing business?
Just me and Chad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just and we work well together because we're totally different personalities.
Got it.
So I always look at it like we're going in a ship. My job's to keep the ship straight, and his is to go as fast as possible. So he's always pushing. Like I always thought my marketing company was called Think Big Marketing.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought I thought big.
Mm-hmm.
He thinks on a whole nother level.
Okay. So he's the visionary, or you guys are both visionaries?
It depends. He's the visionary, and I got to keep it in wraps.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have an idea. I keep the focus.
So you're kind of like Scotty on Star Trek. Like you're just trying to keep the ship from falling apart while he's Captain Kirk, and like he's just
trying to go.
Yeah. Like let's go to warp 10 or whatever it is. Whatever's going to break the ship. Let's go that fast.
Right.
And you figure this out.
Yeah, which is good. It's figured out. So I keep it going,
Mm-hmm.
like, and keep it organized and focused. And yeah, he's like, boom, let's run.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the biggest victories you've had along the way in building up this digital company?
We're growing really fast. So some of the victories are we got an awesome team. We had 7 digits in our first year, which is crazy in this space. And yeah, I'd say that's probably one of the biggest ones. And we keep like even month over month right now, we're doubling business.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like steady growth. And I'd say it's awesome and stressful at the same time because we're building a team. I've never built a team before. I'm a one-man show.
Right.
So it's not like we're coming from like a big corporate background. So like that's kind of cool part about it.
Got it. Yeah. I mean, I've even sent a couple of emails over to Larry, right? He runs our marketing for our education company. I was like, I don't know what it is about Brian's emails, but it makes me open it.
It's good.
Right. I'm clicking on it.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what it is. Just look at this email, figure it out. He's looking at it. He's like, it looks like a regular email to me. I was like, well, there's something he's doing there. Yeah. I'm clicking on that one above any of the other emails.
More recently, I've just put people's names as the subject.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're on the podcast, Steve Trang's the subject line.
Well, that's what it is.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's what I noticed. But I was like, I want you to figure this out.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So then doing digital marketing, you must have learned a lot in the last 10 or so years.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of people that's doing marketing right now, whether it's SEO, Facebook, or Google. So for someone that's running their campaigns right now, what are some of those biggest glaring mistakes you see on people doing digital marketing?
So I see, because back in the day, we used to be able to do all kinds of stuff and crush it.
Well, there was no cost. You can learn at almost no cost.
Yeah, and you can do it was just cool. And now there's a lot more competition and the algorithms are way more sophisticated.
Yeah.
Some of the biggest mistakes I see with people fresh in the space trying to do their own marketing is not being direct. Like if you're trying to get someone that wants to sell their house fast, say that in your ad. Don't ask them how much to find out how much their house is worth.
Yeah. Well, I figured that out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So I talk about like my journey of going from realtor to wholesaler and so on, right? And so I'm a realtor and I'm trying to get leads for listings.
Right.
So I was like, find out what your house is worth, free appraisal. I think I bought like freephoenixappraisal.com or something along those lines. I registered one of those domains some time ago. And I spent all this money, not a ton back then, but 15 years ago, it wasn't that expensive to test. I was like, these leads suck. Like finding out what my house is worth and this and that, like it wasn't turning into anything. And it just so happened I do, sell my house fast, buy my house. It's like, oh,
yep.
These keywords, these ads, this message resonates because they need to take action today.
Right.
Yeah.
And the difference between someone that wants to sell their house, like in a Google search, sell my house versus sell my house fast is huge.
Right.
Like it's the difference between a top dollar or someone that's got a hoarder house.
Right.
So it's like you just got to really, really, really focus. Like,
so be super direct, almost like you're shaking them, like you're grabbing their attention really hard.
Right. Yeah, you grab their attention hard, and then I look at the website like the disqualifier. Like make it hard for them to submit forms. Like everyone's like, no, I want the cheapest leads, I want the most leads, I want to make it easy, short forms.
Yeah.
Make multi-step forms, things like that, to disqualify them. Unless like if you're a realtor too, you might want some of this because if they want top dollar, you can do something with them. Like I'm not a realtor, so I can't do anything with them.
Right.
There's waste.
Yeah. So make it harder for them. And again, I'm just going back to my experience. I apologize to you guys, but I'm just speaking from my own anecdotal experience here. What we used to do, because remember when Facebook for a very, very short period of time, they might still do it, we just don't do it anymore, was that they could just opt in, right? They saw an ad and they just pre-populated with their Facebook information.
You can still do that too.
You can still do that. Well, we decided not to do that thing.
Yeah.
Right? Because like it was pre-populated, first name, last name, whatever phone number and email address they used to log in to Facebook or register with Facebook.
The one they set up 10 years ago.
Right.
Yep.
That's the one. And so they could just click opt-in.
Yep.
And we jump on it, right? Speed the lead. And we call them. Hey, Brian, this is Steve. You just filled out a form on Facebook. But no, I didn't. Like, click on the email. No, clearly.
Right.
You clearly did, right? You couldn't say that to a prospect. But like the first time, like that's really weird. Second and third time, this is an odd pattern. After about 10 times, like, oh, they're on so autopilot that because they didn't type anything in, they don't even remember filling in a form.
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So you got to make it at least a little challenging.
Yeah.
To fill out the information. So what does that mean challenging though?
Well, first, if you think about that, so think about from the user's experience. They see an ad of a house. Like, let's talk about the lead forms like you're talking about. They click it, it puts in their information and they're done. They don't know you're an investor. They don't know anything. They just saw an image, right? So what I prefer to do is even if you're running on Facebook, you can run. I'm going to take a step back. Facebook will give you what you want. So if you tell Facebook, give me likes, they know, and their algorithm's so smart, they know who's going to like your stuff and do nothing else.
Really?
Or if you say, I want traffic, they know they'll be able to put it in front of people and find those people. So you want to choose an objective that says lead. Like I want people to go to our website and fill out a form.
See, I didn't realize that. So that's pretty cool. Good to know. Because I was like, I mean, they're going to like it. Shouldn't they also? But you're saying they're going to put it in front of people who have different tendencies.
Right. Because the algorithms are so smart. They know, like Facebook knows everything you're doing. And same with Google, because there's something called a Facebook pixel. It's code that's on every website basically out there. So they can see your browsing even off the platform. Yeah. So if you're looking for shoes, you're going to see shoes in your Facebook feed. Like me, I'm not going to see dresses. My wife will. I won't. Everything's like really tailored to you. So that's kind of how the algorithms work. So they can show you stuff, but they also know who's looking to sell their house because they can see what websites you're on and deliver those ads to you.
Yeah.
For the experience. So yeah, that's kind of creepy, but from a marketer standpoint, it's good.
Sure. So, but then going back to making it harder for them to fill out the form, what are some of the barriers you're putting for them to fill it out?
So normally what I'll do is they'll click the ad, They go to a website. The website's going to say, hey, we're investors. We're not paying top dollar, but we can give you a cash offer. If you're interested, fill out this form. We'll ask for like name, phone number, email, address. So we captured that. Then we'll send them to a second step that says, okay, why do you want to sell? How fast do you want to sell? How much work's your property need? Confirm you're not working with a realtor. And we ask them like 10 more questions. After that, that's when we consider them a lead.
Right.
So that second step, because there's a big drop rate there. It's a lot of questions for online these days.
Yeah. Yeah, I think because we had Brandon Bateman on the show. He talks about lead sculpting.
Right.
Right. So it sounds like you're just basically feeding the algorithm, hey, here are the people we want, here are the people we don't want.
Right. And once you get into lead sculpting too, that's actually basing off their answers
Right.
too. Because it's like, okay, this person said they're listed on the MLS. Let's send them to a different thank you page that doesn't have a lead event pixel on it. Stuff like that too. So yeah,
Right.
you can go really far down the trenches on like what data you feed back to them.
Sure. Okay. So the other thing too, you're talking about direct. One of the things that we've talked about on the show before is direct response marketing. So, since we're talking about marketing right now, you want to share what direct response marketing means to you.
Yeah. So what do you mean direct response marketing?
So for me, you got like the Coca-Cola ads, right? You got unlimited budgets, right? We don't have that. And you got the Dan Kennedy direct response marketing, right? Where like, we know if we spend X dollars, we'll get this many leads. So we're talking about being direct. How do you guys market effectively to ensure, the maximum return on spend?
Yeah. So KPIs, you got to like really look at your KPIs. And what a lot of people do is they look at the lead cost, which you want to look at the deal cost. Because for example, if you're getting, Facebook can have two different types of ads. You can have lead forms or push them to a website. Lead form might cost you $20. Facebook going through your website might be $150.
Yeah.
So once you narrow that down, I usually will look at KPIs like how many leads do we get? What's the cost per lead? What's the cost per appointment? What's the cost for qualified to buy, like someone that we could do something with? How much for the agreement and how much for closed? And then we work backwards there. And once you get enough data, then it's like, okay, up to a point where you max out your area. But it's like, okay, if we can double our budget, it should increase our deal flow.
Right.
To double until you can only spend a certain amount of money though on different platforms. You max it out.
Sure. Okay. What are some other glaring mistakes you're seeing from people running digital marketing?
A lot of people with it running it. I see a lot of people that are newer in the space. They don't even use the pixels right, or they don't use pixels on it. They'll be like, hey, we're running Facebook ads. There's no pixel on our website. It's like you're throwing spaghetti into the wall and hoping it sticks.
That's atrocious.
Yeah, more newer people trying to do it on their own.
Yeah, I just got sick in my stomach here. So for the less initiated, can we give them a real world analogy of what that's like? Like, what does it mean? Because we're talking about Facebook pixels, right? Someone listening, they might not have any idea what we're talking about as far as Facebook pixel. What's a good real world analogy to describe a Facebook pixel?
Sure. So Facebook pixel is a code on a website that you just put on in your header section, right? You can't see it from the website. And what it does, it segments people that come onto your site. So we'll have different objectives. There might be one called view content. And that means anytime someone hits your website, we fire the event that says view content. That tells Facebook this person has been on our website.
Right.
So we have that audience. Then we have one for someone that's filled out a form. That's a lead objective, right? So now Facebook knows, okay, these people filled out forms. Once we get enough of them, we can tell Facebook, go find us more of these people.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is with having a Facebook pixel on your website, you can create these audiences so you can retarget them. So it's same way Amazon and everyone's showing you shoes. Right. You can put your ads back in front of these people for cheap. Like retargeting might cost you $5 a day. And you know they want to sell their house. They're just not ready today.
Right. Yeah. So I think we're talking about like some real world like potential examples, right? Because we're talking about cookies here. Is I don't know. The best I can think of is like when you see these guys in these documentaries where they're rescuing animals, right? And like you save like this bird in the woods. You put like a little red tag on it, right? So now you know,
right,
on the GPS where that bird is at all times. You can track where that bird is, so you know like this is a bird that we took care of. And just likewise, you can now monitor the people that have been on your website anywhere and everywhere.
Exactly. And and you build credibility that way because now they've been tagged like the bird. It's like, okay, hey Steve, you've been on our website. Now I'm going to show you ads of me talking for the next 7 days.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to show you testimonial videos so you can really build up your credibility that way.
And I think Frank Kern had this thing, I think it was intent-based marketing. I think that's what he called it, right? Whereas basically, if you saw this one ad, right? So first we're going to hit you with a pixel.
Right.
And then you're going to do the testimony video, right? Or like maybe why you should sell your house to someone like me. And then if they watch 30% of that video, now we're going to super target those guys really hard.
Right.
Because if they watch 30% of like why you should sell your house to an investor like me video, now we know there's like a super, super hot prospect.
Right.
Right. Is that, I assume that's like something along the lines of what you guys do.
Yes. So you have the pixel based audiences, but then you can base audiences based on how long people watch your videos, stuff like that. Or you can make audiences based on how many people engage with your page, like liked it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So you can make all these different audiences, and then you just have to think. I always like to think from the user standpoint. Okay, someone that just did that, what are they looking for, and then try to give them that. Like if they come to our website, I'm going to show them something different than if they just watch 50% of our video.
Yeah.
Because they're at a different stage of their process.
For sure. And then another thing you talked about was we were just at CG Select last week. We were hanging out literally 9 days ago.
Right.
Right. And you did a presentation on protecting your brand.
Right.
So you want to give some insight to everyone that's listening right now, what it means to protect your brand.
Yeah. So protecting your brand. So here's how it is. In a nutshell, when you're marketing online, you're doing, or even not online, direct mail, SMS, anything, people are Googling your brand. You have to bid on your brand name, like in Google Ads. So Google Ads, Google Steve Trang, Real Estate Disruptors, whatever it is. So that when someone searches you, your competitor is not ranking there and stealing your business.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing on brand. And then also with the retargeting, anyone who comes to your website, make sure you're staying in front of them because they're already interested. Stay in front of them until they're ready because they might have inherited a home. They're just not ready for 6 months. So stay top of mind all the time.
Yeah, we had Doug Hopkins on the show, I want to say like 4 years ago, 3-4 years ago. And I could tell it clearly irritated him that there were a lot of house buyers in our market who bid on the words Doug Hopkins.
Yeah. And a lot of people do.
Well, I mean, it makes sense.
Right.
Right. I've never done it, but we used to bid on We Buy Ugly Homes.
Yeah.
Right. We used to bid on We Buy Ugly Houses, but then home investors got really upset with us.
They do. They get pissed off.
Yeah, they get pissed off.
Yeah,
So
did you get the letter?
Oh, we got the letter.
Yeah.
So we stopped marketing for We Buy Ugly Houses, and we just started marketing for We Buy Ugly Homes. That's not trademark protected, so that was fine.
And you know what? I think a lot of investors aren't doing it intentionally either, because a lot of people are just doing dynamic ads, which will pop the name. Like if you Googled, like, I'm in Pittsburgh, 412 houses, it'll pop that name into your ad.
Right.
So it looks like they're bidding on your name. A lot of guys are bidding on names, but a lot of guys aren't too.
Right. Well, it's up to Google to enforce because that's how we got the letter.
Right.
So Google was enforcing it. There was nothing I could do about that.
Yeah.
So going back to here, so you've been doing predominantly the BRRRR model in one zip code for some time now. Any potential to deviate from that at any point?
Possibly.
Okay. What are the circumstances where you would deviate?
When I get more time. So I'm so laser focused on the digital side right now. I don't want to go far, but eventually I'm going to want to build the portfolio bigger. And I'm looking to get into the more multis and bigger stuff. That's going to force me outside my area.
Yeah. Why multifamily?
Just because it looks like it's a little bit more effort, more money, but the same process.
Yeah.
Different process, but same. Like I can spend the time doing one thing and you're just adding zeros onto the project.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I'm looking at the same on time. I think that's going to be more efficient use because turning a house is a pain in the butt.
Oh yeah.
Like you got a lot of time involved with there. So I'm like, okay, well, what if I did that and spent the effort turning something bigger, spend a little bit more effort, but then it's done too, and it's got an extra zero behind it.
Right. So we were talking about a lot of digital marketing, but that's not really what you guys do. But sell. You guys sell leads because you guys are really good in the marketing side, which we've just spent a lot of time talking about.
Right.
So again, for someone that's not familiar, what is the difference between PPC marketing or pay-per-click marketing and pay-per-lead marketing? Okay.
And we do the custom like pay-per-click also, but it's more of a custom thing. Most people gravitate towards a pay-per-lead unless they want to scale real heavy.
Sure.
So here's what you have. You have Facebook, Google pay-per-click, SEO. We'll call that custom marketing. That's where you hire an agency They come in and manage your ads for you. They do everything custom. They build campaigns that send traffic to your website and help you generate leads. And the goal is to generate the most leads that are quality at the least cost, right? Pay-per lead marketing is when someone like me will say, you know what, I'll take the gamble that I can get leads in your area cheap enough that I can sell you that lead in real time at a profit.
Yeah.
So it's the same marketing. We're doing Google, Facebook, all that kind of stuff. It's just we're marketing under our brand at a national level, generate leads, say in Phoenix. It's like you don't have to worry about spending $1,500, $2,500 a month for a retainer. It's like you just pay for the leads when they come in.
Are you wholesaling me leads?
We'll talk about it.
Dirty son of a...
I look at it as I'm flipping leads. Like that's what this business is. I'm buying low and trying to sell them higher.
That's classic arbitrage. I think I love it.
Right.
So you're buying leads cheap and you're selling it at a higher cost.
Right.
Same exact thing we're doing wholesaling properties.
Exactly.
You're wholesaling leads.
Yep.
Got it. And because you guys have a national reach, you guys can do it at a lower cost.
Right. Because so that's a good point you bring up. So the way online works is it's usually impression based and area specific. So if I market in one city, my cost per lead might be $250. If I market to the whole state, it might be $200. And if I market to the entire country, it might be $100. So the bigger area you target, the cheaper the lead is.
Right.
Most people try, like I see a lot of guys out there like, oh yeah, you know what, I'm just going to market the whole state and get real cheap leads. Then they fail because they don't know what to do with them. In my case though, if we have people that will buy them in those areas and we have enough clients, we can market to those big areas and get the cheaper lead cost. So it works out for us.
So there was another major pay-per lead provider whose reputation's gone down just a little bit. So my biggest fear always is if the pay-per lead provider is incentivized to sell me as many leads as possible, what is to stop them from getting some cheaper leads that are a little less reliable? Say, for example, ZBuyer, right? Like, what's to stop someone from going to ZBuyer or some other, lead aggregator to resell it to us at a premium?
Yeah. So there is nothing except for who's running it, right? So I look at like reputation's big on me.
Yeah.
So and I don't want to see people. I don't want to sell crappy leads to people because I get to see them all the time. And I just think it's a good way to way I look at it is, since I'm an investor, I want to do what I want. Like what I want as an investor, that's what I want to try to generate. But a lot of lead providers, it depends on the model, and it depends on the investor's business too, because sometimes Facebook lead forms that are $10, if you're just starting out, you might be willing to call 200 people to get that deal.
Right.
So it depends on everyone's business. Me personally, I think I like to focus on the lead side, more judging success on deals. It's like, okay, hey, we're going to sell you leads, but report back. I want to know how many deals you're getting from that and make it work for you.
Yeah. So even though your compensation is based off pay-per-lead, you're still targeting a cost per contract.
Yeah. So way I work is because we have so many different sources, right? So many different landing pages, things like that on the pay-per-lead side. And some of them will come in with quality that we don't like. So all of our clients, I tell them, we have it built out in our dashboard. It's like, report back, fill out, hey, did this person answer? Is it, did you get under contract? Did they set an appointment? Was it a bad information? Or did they say they never filled out a form, or they want top dollar? Yeah. Like if I know that feedback, I can go back and say, okay, you know what? This source at a global level is getting us people who want top dollar. We need to look at that messaging or pause it and things like that. So everyone reports back, and the whole goal is to optimize to get the deals.
Okay. So then you can now attach it like, okay, the complaints we're getting are based off this particular source.
Right. And it could be the ad, it could be the landing page, it could be something that slipped by us. It's like, it's resonating. Like we thought it would get us good leads, and it's just not.
Got it. Okay.
And
what might work, we've learned this, what might work in one city won't necessarily work in another city.
Definitely. I see that all the time too. It's like some will crush it in Pittsburgh and New Jersey. Doesn't work.
Yeah. Is the exception to the rule when we say this won't work in my market. Actually, we can tell digital marketing that won't work in your market.
Right. But digital will work in everyone's market. It just depends on like some of the messaging has to be changed.
Exactly. And then handling online leads. I mean, you just spent a lot of time talking to my team really.
Right.
On working with online leads. So why don't you share some at a high level? What are some things that someone can do today to dramatically increase the conversion for their digital leads?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I see in digital that most investors don't understand, you have to call leads fast.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about it again from the user side, say it's Google pay-per-click. Sellers don't know what they're looking for. Like they might not even know investors are out there. They just Googled sell my house fast. So they're clicking the first ad, clicking the second ad, clicking the third ad. Whoever gets back to them that they like the most usually gets a deal, and then they're going to ghost everybody else. They're not going to answer. So that's number one thing I can stress, like call leads quick. You know what I mean? But then it's different things like I personally send out a text message immediately when someone fills out a form. It says, thanks for filling out a form. Here's a link to our calendar to book an appointment. That was a game changer for us.
Yeah.
Again, back to Google, it's like if they filled out 3 forms, or if they filled out, you're the first one. They fill it out, they get a text. You just pulled them away in their phone to Calendly. The likelihood of them going back is low now.
Right.
Because they just booked an appointment. It's like, okay, I got what I needed for the time being. So those are some tips there. Have a CRM. You got to follow up with these people forever.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get the people that want to sell yesterday, and then you're going to get the other people. Like out of 10 leads, 6 of them are going to be no good. Like they want too much money. They're not a fit, whatever it is. 4 of them are probably deals you want. You usually lock down 1, right?
Right.
So those 6 and other 4, like the 9 leads, so they're selling at some point. Some of them might not. But just stay in front of them for as long as possible.
Right. Do you have, so you're saying potentially 1 in 10, and then the other 3 will sell. Do you have an idea? 2 months, 6 months?
Depends. Situation based, you know?
What are some of the mistakes you're seeing from investors that are trying to close these online leads?
So I see a lot of people that I talk with that just go in looking for price, like on the call.
Really?
Yeah, really. Like like they don't know how to handle conversations sometimes. So people will
Very
call.
aggravating as a sales trainer.
Right. Yeah. You need to talk, right?
Yeah.
But so I see a lot of people don't go in there trying to find out, okay, hey seller, what's your problem? And then they're going to lie to you and then keep probing, like, because if you can find out what their problem is, then you can find a solution.
Right.
You know, versus just worrying about, hey, you know what? I got a price over the phone. That didn't make sense. So I'm just not going. So I see a lot of guys not.
So they're qualifying too early.
Right. And not going to the appointments. Like go to the appointments. Even if a person tells you, say their house is 200 grand, they tell you they want 180, but they have motivation, go to that house because that number doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You have to keep digging and find out like what the problem is, which you know.
Yeah.
But I see a lot of people dealing with that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's my absolute belief that what they ask for is just a data point. It's not wrong. It's not right. It's just a piece of data, right? Just like they've owned it for 5 years. You have an idea of how much they want for it, and that's it.
Right.
But if you're putting a lot of weight on it, you're completely screwing yourself.
Yeah. And it's a numbers game. It's like you go on more appointments, you're going to get more deals.
Right.
You just have to figure out what your percentage is.
Sure.
Because then you can scale it. It's like, okay, if I go in 10 appointments, I get a deal. 20 appointments should get me 2.
What other mistakes are you seeing?
A lot of guys don't have CRMs or dialed up CRMs, which I think we talked about. Main thing is a speed, like on the online side, speed and then sales. Like there's not much to real estate. Like it's like you get a lead, you lock it up and you're done.
Yeah. Well, one thing I'm seeing, and I'd like to get your perspective on this. One thing I'm seeing is a super motivated closer takes the lead, right? And tries to go from an inquiry online, call that lead, get Mr. Driscoll on the phone, and try to close you on a contract that very call, right?
Yeah.
Versus, which I believe, this is not fact, it's just my belief, my truth, is that my job when you first fill out the web form is to sell an appointment. And then from that appointment, sell you on selling your house to me. Right. So I believe it has to be 2 steps. But you're doing the digital marketing side. I'd love to hear your perspective.
100%.
Yeah.
So I get these guys hit me up sometimes. They want to do virtual, right? Like, hey, we're going to sell everyone on the phone, things like that. And they hit me back up in 2 months. Some of them it worked, very few. And I'm with you. That first call is to sell that appointment.
Yeah.
And then you have to go build a rapport. You have to like find out, can you work with these people? Like, can you help them out? And then let them like make them comfortable with you.
Right.
So yeah, I'm 100% with you there.
Yeah. I'm just wondering what it is. You see a lot of these guys, and maybe just because we're hard charging and like, yeah, they fill out a form. Clearly they have to sell. And can you sell a contract? Can you sell your services over the phone in a 45-minute conversation on the phone? Absolutely, you could. But, the example I've been using very, very recently, very recent, is the Celtics, right? You can build a team that's based on hitting threes. But on those days where your threes aren't going in,
Yeah.
you're completely screwed. So why not build a reliable process versus a process that's totally dependent on one make or break thing that if it doesn't work, all else is lost.
Well, and getting a deal on a phone doesn't mean it's going to close.
Yeah.
So a lot of guys are like, yeah, we locked it up. And they have a 50% drop rate. Right. So it's like, you gotta have that person come, because it's a 60-day process a lot of times.
Oh yeah.
They have to not bail on you for 60 days. Like, there has to be good rapport built.
When I first got into this business, my mentor, he said real estate is the big league of sales. And I was like, well, that seems like a pretty bold statement, right? Like, we're that. I mean, I get that we're in real estate, but that seems a little self aggrandizing, whatever, right? But really full of ourselves. And I was like, okay, so where do you come up with that? And he's like, well, real estate is the only sale that you have to close them today and keep them closed,
right,
and sold on you for months, right? If I get Mr. Bryan Driscoll to agree to sell his house, not as a buyer, but to sell his house with me as a realtor, I got to get you signed a listing agreement today. And then for the next 6 months, when you're frustrated that the house hasn't sold yet, you still have belief that I'm your guy.
Right.
That's a long sell. That is not this is not selling a car where once you drive off the lot, it's a done deal.
Yeah, it's not impulse. It's not like the impulse, they'll change their mind.
Yeah. Another thing too, just for everyone that's listening, you and I, we just kind of touched on it, but I always say we have to sell appointments, right? And a lot of people, they hire lead managers or VAs to set appointments or schedule appointments or book appointments. And that works. Not saying it doesn't work, but I believe you've got to sell the appointment, right? You got to convince them that meeting with you face to face or over the phone, for these guys virtually, at a short time later, you got to keep them sold on showing up on that appointment.
Right.
Not just like, hey, Bryan, we want to talk to you about selling your house. Like, yeah, just give me a call tomorrow morning.
Yep.
We're like, okay. That's not selling an appointment.
Right.
That's taking an order.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you like, so, and that brings up something too, because I talk to a lot of guys who are like, hey, we're going to generate these leads and we're going to have a VA call them. Oh my God. It's like, okay, you just generated a lead and you're going to have, which VAs are good for a lot of things.
VAs are great in a lot of things.
Right. But in this case, it's like you just spend a couple $100 for this lead. Mm-hmm. They will book the appointment with that person they're just looking to sell. Mm-hmm. But the people that are on the fence, I believe you're leaving a lot of money on the table at the most crucial time in the lead generating process.
Yeah. So you're willing to spend, in my market, right? We're spending for some keywords, we're $78 a click for some of our keywords. Yeah. All right.
Click per click. It's expensive.
Not the lead.
Yep.
Not a registration. Not an appointment. Just for them to click on Google, we're spending, I think the highest I've seen is $78.
Yeah. You need at least 10 clicks. They probably get a lead.
Right.
Get a good close rate. So it's $780 for one lead.
Right. And then to spend $4 to $6 on a VA to create the very first impression, right? It's like walking into like a Mercedes-Benz dealership and like the sign's kind of falling off.
Yeah.
Right. Like, this is the first impression you want to make on a guy that's ready to spend $100,000 in your car.
Right. And give it to your acquisitions guy. Reward him. Those are the hottest leads.
Yeah.
Like,
you want him to be excited about the leads. So, okay, cool. I think we beat that topic to death, which is good. So one thing you're talking about is marketing works if it's done consistently.
Yeah.
Consistently is one of those funny things. You know?
What is it, right?
Yeah, because I think we either last week when I was doing the presentation from the main stage, right? I was saying, like, we as entrepreneurs say we'll do whatever it takes, but there's an asterisk.
Right.
And the asterisk is like, except like execute or be consistent.
Yep.
Right.
100%.
So consistently marketing. What does consistent marketing mean?
So I think all marketing will work, not even necessarily digital. All marketing will work if done consistently. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to send mailers, you can't just do one drop and say, you know what, mailers don't work. you have to drop them for like 6 months. And the time period on when testing things is going to be different. I'd say on digital, give it 6 months. Same with mail. Some things you might be able to tell quicker, maybe like SMS, things like that. But commit. Because I see a lot of guys get into space. They're like, you know what? We tried that. We got 4 leads. That didn't work.
Yeah.
It's like if you do it consistently, if you door knock consistently, or you drive for dollars, or you do digital, they're all going to work. It just depends on the extent and how much it costs. Because door knocking costs sweat. Digital costs money.
Right.
So you can either trade sweat or money. It depends on which one you want to do and where you're at in your career.
Yeah. So Dean Graziosi, someone we've had on the show, someone I had the chance to learn from the stage. And I remember one of the things he talked about a lot about was marketing stamina. Right. He with the most marketing stamina will win because they can last longer during any kind of lull. And we had a lull last year. I mean, lull might be an understatement. Right. Yeah. But those that could continue marketing throughout this entire lull are feasting today.
Yep.
Right. And then I mentioned Dan Kennedy earlier, and one of the things he talked about was to have a business that's built around marketing was I will win in the long run if I can afford to spend more on marketing than you can. Right. So if I have a really efficient operation and I know my marketing copy is better than you, I know that my cost per lead is better than yours. I know my conversion rates are better than yours.
Yep.
I could just outspend you and crush you.
And it works.
And
I'm a believer in that too.
Yeah. Right. So I think, some of the most brilliant marketing minds kind of say the same thing you're saying in a slightly more aggressive the way they say it.
Right.
Right. But marketing works so long as you can do it consistently.
And outspending your competition works well too.
Yeah.
Just because think about it, if you're outspending, if you're in a city, you're on TV, sending mail, you're on billboards, doing digital, retargeting people, you're just everywhere. It's like when eventually people are going to be like, that's the guy.
Right.
Like you're just going to pop up. No, that's the guy.
Oh yeah. We got that. We got the Mr. Doug Hopkins in our market today.
Yep.
Yeah. That guy will not go away. I keep telling him he should retire. Like he should spend time with his grandkids.
Yep.
He's not really interested in,
that's how it works.
in retiring.
Well, and real estate investors are all aggressive people. It's like, that's why clicks are $70.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you just outbid me? Bump up the price?
Oh yeah. Oh, I had a person that used to work for me, and he said that his clients were attorneys, right? Yeah. And he and a few different marketers were working together, and they're like, it was easy for them to make more money. All they had to do, right, because they got paid per as a percentage of ad spend.
Okay.
All they had to do was go tell one attorney, hey, I just heard this attorney is spending this much on marketing. Yep. And I was like, oh, that's unacceptable. Spend more money on marketing. And they just had I think it was 8 to 10 of these guys, marketing guys, that had every attorney in town. Yeah. And they would just always trade stories. And it just every month, it was just this, it's like
a vicious cycle.
It's a nuclear arms race.
Yeah.
Right? Like they're just going to keep
and it's so true because it's like attorneys, real estate investors, like it's a specific type of personality that does this stuff.
Yeah.
It's very competitive. And you're right. It's like, hey, you know what? You just got outbid. Someone just outranked you. It's like, what do you mean? It's like, raise it up. What do you talk?
I will not be outspent.
Yep.
We have a couple of other things, but I wanted to make sure we get to the audience's questions as well. So let's do this. Let's just take a quick break, and then we will get to the audience's questions.
We're giving them the GPS of what they have to do to show up every single day and execute with excellence and stay in the revenue driving activities. If you have a rep that is not producing, it is your fault. You have to have and hold that responsibility and get down and coach to where they need to be. So let's create that mentality for them. They are running their business. We are terrible at reading people when it comes to performance inside of how they're going to operate your organization. 90% of people that are in sales roles do not know what a key performance indicator is. But they need to have a fundamental understanding of how that KPI specifically to them drives revenue. And more than that, how it drives their income. It takes a different level of person to get to that 6-figure mark. Let's hire to the 6-figure mark.
All right, so going to the audience here, looking on YouTube, Trent wants to know, if you were going to do virtual, what would an appointment look like? would it be a Zoom call, or would you have boots on the ground, meet with a homeowner later?
Well, if I don't do virtual, so I don't know if I'm the best person to give advice here, but if I were, I would generate a lead. I would build rapport with the seller. I would send someone over to take pictures, like boots on the ground to take pictures, and I'd have them taking a lot of pictures. Like, here's a laundry list of things that I need to know. Because how do you make an offer on a property that, like, it could be worth $200,000 or the foundation could be busted? So I'd get all the pictures and then finalize it that way. And I'd have a couple different dispo methods.
Yeah.
Like, it wouldn't just be cash. I'd probably have novations, listing it on MLS. Like, you'd have to have a couple different ways to make that work, in my opinion.
So you would build a rapport with the seller and then send the photographer over and then make the offer.
I'd probably gauge from them first. Hey, tell me about your house. Like, what's the condition like?
Yeah.
And have them tell me. Maybe even walk around on their phone showing me. And I'd say, you know what? If everything's like you say it is, I'd probably be between this and this.
Yeah.
Does that like where you want it to be?
Yeah. So for us, what we've done is we've ran the appointment over the phone and get the signed contract. And then our due diligence period begins after we get the photos.
It's probably a better way.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only reason why was because what we were finding was that we would have a contract and our due diligence period would begin.
Yeah.
Right. Brian, I need the photos. Yeah, I'll get it to you. Hey, Brian, I need the photos. Yeah, I'll get it to you. Hey, Brian, our due diligence expires tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right. So we just changed the language. Like, due diligence begins the day after we get photos, so that we were no longer
on that time constraint.
Shooting ourselves in the foot. Another thing we had to do as well was we had our close of escrow date was always some number of days after the due diligence period ended. Again, pressure's now on them,
right,
to give us the photos versus the, hey, I need to get in there. Are you guys going to answer the phone here?
Right. And I would urge anyone listening to, like, belly to belly is going to win.
Yeah.
Just because it's just, I see it in the numbers. You might have a 1 out of 25 close rate virtual or 1 out of 20 versus 1 out of 10 face to face. So that's what I recommend there.
Yeah, I always love belly to belly. I know we're old school, right? We're both showing our age, but in the long run, conversion rates will be higher face to face than over the phone. And in our careers, right? For myself, 16 years in the business myself, as well as everyone underneath me, we had only twice ever been physically removed from a home.
Yeah.
Where, like, they actually put hands on us, actually asked us to leave. Twice.
Yeah.
Right. But being hung up on, that's a fairly regular occurrence.
Right.
Yeah. AI Entrepreneur on YouTube. What or who is a good resource to learn Google AdWords and Facebook PPC?
That's a good question, because I'm self-taught. There are, I don't know many, there's a guy named Jeff who has a Facebook or Google pay-per-click course. I don't remember his last name. Google, you'll find him. His name's Jeff. But I'm more of a fan of trial by error, because a lot of the guys selling stuff, they're selling the course. It's like, go make some ads. You can go on Upwork, Fiverr, make ads, things like that, and run them that way.
Yeah. I don't know if he's still relevant today, but I was always a really big fan of Perry Marshall.
Yeah.
Right. He wrote the book 80/20 on marketing, or something along those lines. But yeah, I've always been a really big fan of Perry Marshall. And then I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of places you can learn online.
You know what? I'll give you a link. Some videos I made, how to run Facebook ads, like, for free. It's the same thing I was giving out in CG. So you can just put it in the show notes.
All right, guys. So later on, check out the show notes. We will have the link for how to do Facebook PPC. So going back to some of the questions I had as well. I noticed that when you send me emails, it's from motivated-leads.com.
Right.
But your brand is Motivated Leads with no dash.
Right.
When did you make that transition?
I got the domain like 8 months ago.
Okay. So how long ago were you running Motivated-Leads?
8 months ago.
No, the hyphenated one.
I was running that since we started till 8 months ago.
Okay.
And then we switched our website over.
So for the last 10 years, you had it hyphenated. And 8 months ago, you bought the non-hyphenated domain.
Yeah, we've only been doing Motivated Leads for 3 years.
Okay.
So yeah, the last 2 and whatever, it was hyphenated, and then the last 8 months not hyphenated.
Okay. So question here, I don't know if you feel comfortable answering this question. What did you have to pay to get the non-hyphenated domain?
You know what? It's a funny story, dude. So I was speaking at an event. It was a $1 million meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I was speaking there, right? And someone comes up to me in the audience. They're like, "Motivated Leads, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "We own motivatedleads.com."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Really? How much does it cost?" Like, I've been looking for this thing. And what are the odds of that?
Right.
Like, someone in the room owns your domain. So we worked out a barter. She's like, "It's my boss's. He just like hoards domains, like buys a whole bunch of them to flip."
Mm-hmm.
She's like, "Let me talk to him." It took me like a month. I was talking with her. I'm like, "How much are we talking?" She's like, "He doesn't really want any money. Can you run our marketing, our pay-per-click?" Yeah.
Right.
So like, it didn't cost a penny. Like, we didn't have to pay for it.
Remarkable.
I would have paid a lot of money, not a lot of money, but I would have paid a little bit of money for it.
So I bought Disruptors.com, right? So again, I talked about We Live earlier. So I'm going to We Live. I see, Gary Vaynerchuk's going to be speaking. I was like, well, real estate disruptors at some point might just be disruptors.
Right.
We might just go entrepreneurs versus real estate investors. So I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and see what I can get Disruptors.com for. And I think the first thing was like $32,000, and like over time, they would reach out to me because like, yeah, I can't, even if I wanted to pay 32 grand,
Right.
I can't. Right. And so eventually over time, we agreed on 8,000. Like, I can do 8,000, but I can't do it up front. So they seller financed it over 12 months.
That's solid.
Right. So they seller finance Disruptors.com. So for me, and by the way, I can't guarantee you, well, just about damn near guarantee I've done at least one additional transaction because it's just Disruptors.com.
Right. It's just so easy to say.
Right.
Yeah, like go to our website, motivated-leads.com. Like, that's so confusing.
Right.
And
then let's see here. Over the course of years, right, I got stunninghomes.com, just bought stunningrealestate.com. And then on the realtor side, I bought chandlerhomes.com, gilberthomes.com, tempehomes.com. These are all
the local areas.
Local areas, right? mesarealestate.com. And for all of those, it's anywhere between $2,000 and $4,500, which might sound like a lot of money. But since I was doing so much PPC marketing, domain relevancy was definitely helping with quality score. Again, I can't say with absolute certainty, but I'm pretty sure I saved thousands and thousands of dollars on Google pay-per-click marketing just because of the quality score from the domain.
Yeah, and it's easier to rank too.
Yeah.
Just more relevant.
Well, if I actually spent some effort there, I definitely could have gotten that. But shiny object syndrome, this strike multiple times in my career. And then you recently launched a podcast. Or not recently. You have a podcast.
About a year ago.
So what was the thought process behind the podcast?
So my thought process was I didn't know how to talk on camera.
Mm-hmm.
So
Really?
Like I was always like really good face to face.
You were a sales guy. Okay, yeah, so you're really good face to face.
Really good face to face. I stick a camera in front of me and I'm stumbling. Like I gotta knock this off. Right. So my whole objective was to start something that consistently, week over week, forced me to talk on camera.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the podcast came from.
Got it.
So it was, I didn't want to start a podcast necessarily. It was me trying to achieve a goal that I was trying to hit.
Mm-hmm.
And then it grew into a podcast. And like someone told me this a long time ago. Actually, my brother told me this. He's like, when you start, because he's a big streamer, he's like, when you start, no one's watching your stuff anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So go stumble. And by the time people are watching, you'll have it figured out a little bit.
Yeah, we have, so we do certainty talks, right? That's the one I do with Paul Sparks on Fridays. And one of the things we talk about is a forcing function. If you do something and it helps you do multiple things, then that's what you should do. Right. So if it's forcing you to create content and to become better in front of the camera, then you should do it. Right. There's a few other things too, right? Forcing function, is it a cost saving? Is it a time saving? And does it bring in revenue? Well, it definitely brings in revenue for the marketing side. Cost and time savings, that's a whole different story. I have no idea. But anything that you're doing that it conquers multiple objectives is at least worth examining to see if it's worth doing. And
100%.
So what would you say has been your return on effort on having a podcast?
It's huge. I don't know necessarily dollar wise, but relationship wise, because I can get in front of people that I couldn't call and just talk to.
Yeah.
But if I invite them on the podcast, we get to chat for half an hour. So it's big there.
So when I was trying to do SEO again back in the day, I spent a lot of time and effort on SEO. I was doing that before you were doing it. At least you were doing it as a service. So you definitely remember these days. Do you remember when Panda and Penguin hit?
Oh yeah.
Right?
That was hard.
It was hard.
That was hard.
Right? It crushed a lot of people.
I remember the morning.
Yeah?
I was working on my buddy's e-commerce website and his sales just dipped.
Right. So for everyone that's listening, what was Panda and Penguin?
So Panda was based more on content.
Mm-hmm.
Penguin was based on link building.
Yeah.
So if you built links to your website, so in Google, building links, we'll take a step back here. So here we have SEOs ranking in the free section of Google.
Search engine optimization, SEO.
Right. So you're building links to your website. And what Google's looking at is on your website, are the words and everything relevant? Because Google wants to give the answer to whatever someone's searching. So you have, okay, relevancy on your website. Then you have links from other people's website linking to your website. So technically, we're trying to manipulate the search engine, which is against Google's terms of service.
Technically white hat at the time.
Yeah.
Technically white hat. They even had videos encouraging it.
Right. Well, even now, like we still do link building. I think all SEOs kind of like gray hat it because like what are your Google says don't manipulate the search engine. SEO is manipulating the search engine. Like we're trying to rank. So back then though, we were building links just to rank, not based on user experience. So we would build a whole bunch of links to the website. It would rank. We'd be crushing it. And then Penguin came out one morning, like business. Like my buddy, we were doing like, I don't know, 20,000 in sales maybe. He was down to 4,000 next day.
Yeah.
Like that stuff stings. And it wasn't wrong. Just Google just decided, hey, you know what? We're not counting them anymore.
Yeah. So I got sandboxed. So I went from like number 2.
Yeah.
Right. For Tempe Real Estate, Tempe Homes for Sale to not even in the first 20 pages. Right. I got sandboxed. But in part of doing my own SEO was I would go and interview other bloggers.
Okay.
So we were doing this. It wasn't a link wheel, but we were definitely exchanging links.
Yeah. Link exchange.
Right.
Yep.
And it was just blogging. And the best way to get a link from an influential blogger was, hey, Brian, I'd like to interview you. And it wasn't video. It wasn't audio. Because back then it was just text and pictures.
Yep.
Right. But we're building all these links. And so the best way to rank was just to interview other people and write out a nice summary, show notes these days. Right. The ChatGPT can just pop out like it's nothing. But back then, we actually had to write an article, right? And a link to each other.
Right.
And today's equivalent of that is like, hey, Brian, you seem like you're important and you have a story to share. How about you jump on my podcast and let's talk it through?
Right.
Let's talk it out. And it's highly effective. The number of doors I've been able to open from having this podcast is just ridiculous. I can't think of anyone I can't get a hold of.
Right.
If I needed to in real estate. Outside of real estate, we're still working on that. Right. I don't have Grant Cardone or Donald Trump's number yet. Right. Or, yet. Or Elon or Gary Vee. But, the entire real estate community. If I absolutely, actually, I take that back. If I absolutely needed to get Grant Cardone on the phone, pretty sure I could.
Right.
I would just have to call in all my favors. I would put all my chips on the table.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're right there with the podcast. So like anyone thinking about doing it too, I would do it because you're right. It does open up doors. You get to meet so many different people, and and I like it too because you get to have intelligent conversations.
Right. You actually get to pick their brain and they enjoy it.
And you don't have to pay them.
You don't have to pay them.
Like it's like I get to pick your brain for a half an hour, and ask you all the questions I want to know for free.
Yeah. So like people were asking like, Steve, how are you able to get these people open? I was like, I don't know. They want to come on the show and I've got questions.
Right.
So going into your business today, right? Like if you were to describe it, what it looks like today versus when you bought your second house off of Craigslist, what are the biggest differences?
Oh man, that's a good question. So back then I didn't have a business. I had a hustle, right? Now, and
I have that hustle.
I still have it, but I don't do much on it.
Yeah.
Like so back then, if I'm buying a house, I'm going to buy it. Then I'm going to stress about closing on it. Then I'm trying to come up with the money on it. Then I'm trying to do the remodel myself, like dealing with Craigslist guys or whatever. Then getting screwed, and then like that whole process. Now on the real estate side, I get a lead, I go meet them, I lock it up, and I pass it to someone else. 40 days later or whatever, I come back, it's finished, then I pass it to a property manager.
Yeah.
So like I found that I work well not dealing with other people, in a sense, like in that space.
Yeah.
More tenants, because I get screwed. You know what I mean? Like
Well, actually, I think we had a conversation about this. It's like, you're like, I have this problem where like I'm always super nice to tenants and like they take advantage. I was like, oh, that's a simple solution. Like, what's that? Stop talking to the tenants.
Right. So at that point on the real estate side, it looks way different because I streamlined it. I'm investing, but it's almost not necessarily passive, but it doesn't take a lot of time for me.
Mm-hmm.
In the marketing side, we're growing so fast. It's like, it's blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Just because I'm dealing with struggles I've never thought I'd have, like building out teams, things like that, dealing with all those pains.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really fun because it's a different problem every day.
Yeah.
I wake up, I know there's gonna be 5 problems. Like, you know what I mean? If you just expect it, it's kind of cool.
Yeah. Work-life balance. You know, this is one of those things that a lot of people have different opinions on, whether it's real, whether it's not. You know, I planted my flag last week on stage in front of everyone. It's like, it's a real thing if it's a priority.
Mm-hmm.
What is your perspective on work-life balance?
I think it's a priority too, because before, it depends where you're at in your career too.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was hustling, trying to make a bunch of money, like trying to make it, I worked like 20 hours a day. I don't know what it was. I woke up at like 5. I worked till 8 on the digital marketing from 9 to 5. I went to insurance, came home, ate dinner. And like after the kids went to bed, like 7 to 9 or 7 to 10, I worked again. So it was nonstop, not healthy.
Right.
Especially when you have a family. But I had to do it at that point. Like I just had to get over the hump to be able to like do what I do now. So now I still wake up at 5.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll work like 5 to 5. But then at 5 o'clock, I try to just be done.
Yeah.
Because, and I have a problem. I think a lot of people have a problem too with their phone. It's like, I almost need to leave the phone in a different room.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise it keeps bothering me because I'm trying to spend time with the family and pay attention to the kids when they're talking, not have them in my ear and then be looking at whatever too.
Right.
So I think work-life balance is a real thing. Like you said, like you got to stick your phone in airplane mode or do something or leave it in the other room and do it intentionally.
Yeah. So what kind of freedom does real estate or your business afford you?
It affords me a lot of freedom. Like I can kind of do what I want, within reason. Like you say, hey, you want to come out for a podcast? Like, boom, I'll hop on a plane and
Right.
I'm here. So it affords to be able to make different decisions. So my decision-making process from being successful in business is different because like I have a reserve account, things like that. I don't have to worry about how am I pay my mortgage next month, things like that. So that kind of helps me out. Like if that answers the question.
It absolutely does. What is your why?
My why, I get a couple, I like to help people. My why and the motivated leads is just because I want to crush everybody. Like I just want to be the dominating force. Like it's competition.
Yeah.
I like to help people. I like to earn money to like help other people with it, like charities, things like that. And I'm just competitive. I get bored. Like I want to do things. Like, you know what I mean?
So it's an interesting dichotomy, right? On one side, you really want to help people. On the other side, you really want to crush people.
Right.
And I've got this issue as well. So how, like, what is the reason behind that, right? You want to serve, but dominate, or serve and dominate.
Yeah. Like if we're in the ring, I want to win. But if I see someone hurting, like I want to help them.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we're going to fight, like if we're competing, I want to win the competition.
Right.
But the people we're helping, they're not trying to compete. They're trying to survive. So it's different.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Got it.
Is there anything in particular you got like a cause or a soft spot for?
So what I do is I put 10% of I have all these different bank accounts, right? So I have like my reserve account, all this, and I have 10% I put in just an account. It's just my give account.
Yeah.
And I have that there. So when something pops up, I can give without even thinking about it. So like I went to the Guatemala trip with CG last year. Like that was touching. You know what I mean? That made a big difference. Experiencing that, but it's not necessarily, I just like to, there's not one specific thing I like to go for. It's more like, I think things are going to pop up and when they do, I can just help.
So you're talking about the experience in Guatemala. What was your experience in Guatemala?
It was insane. We went down there and, really poor. Like, have you ever been down there? Okay. Really, really poor. Right. But everyone's really happy.
Yeah.
They're living in like, we're in a room, probably 30 by 20.
Something like that, yeah.
They're living in a house that's 10 by 10, made of like tin hut, with dirt on the floor, and they're happy, right? So it gives you perspective there.
Yeah.
but also how people are living too. It's like really, really poor. So, because I came home, I went in my garage. I remember this. I go in my garage. I'm like, I live in I don't live in like a huge house, but like I live in a mansion because my garage is bigger than their place.
Right.
So, and they just have a lot of stuff because the place we went to, it's called Transforming Futures. Pablo down there, he helps people in orphanages. What happens is they're in an orphanage. When they turn 18, they're out on the street. Like they just have to fend for themselves. So a lot of people get into drugs or whatever. So his organization helps the kids prepare for that, get jobs to be able to survive. So I thought that was really cool. But just seeing that whole atmosphere there, it's like, dude, we went to the top of a freaking mountain. It was like a volcano, and there's people living up there.
Wow.
You know, like there was one kid that they got these little like motorcycle types of things, and he got hit by a motorcycle and his leg was busted. They were showing us pictures, and the lady said, his mother said, she's like, you know what? It's not as bad as he broke his leg, but it broke him. Like she said, it like because he has to here we get a broken arm kid. They get to sit and play video games all day.
Mm-hmm.
This kid gets to sit in bed for 6 months with no TVs or anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a whole different experience. It's perspective.
Right.
It shows what's out there.
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to show you, like, you know, our dispositions. If we're a happy person, we'll be happy despite the circumstances. But if we're an unhappy person, we'll be unhappy despite the circumstances.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to see someone happy in that environment, and you know, the other thing too, like what I've learned about it is a lot of these kids, they basically live in a garbage dump.
Right.
Like, not an exaggeration. They literally live in a garbage dump. And some of the ways that they eat is the leftovers from other people that are throwing their food out.
Scavenging.
Yeah, it's an insane circumstance. What is your biggest struggle right now?
Oh, that's a good question. My struggle is just constantly staying focused. Like I always have to keep pulling back to center because it's like right now, I was just talking with someone last month. They're pretty successful in business. I'm like, hey, what's your number one tip? They're like, ride the wave. I'm like, okay. And it makes sense. It's like when you have something working, just do that.
Lean into it.
It's so hard because it's like, I had 4 things pop up today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? And it's like, you want to keep pulling back. It's like, ride this wave as long as it is, because this over here probably there's an 80% chance it's not going to work, but it's going to pull you from what you're doing.
Yeah.
So my struggle, and I'm pretty good at it too, is just staying really hyper focused on what's working right now and riding it. I always feel like I'm the fat guy at the buffet, right? Especially in the digital space, because I feel like I don't know when the buffet's shutting off. So an all-you-can-eat buffet, I don't know when they're shutting it off, so I have to like get as much as possible while it's open.
Yeah, I love that. It's a trigger warning, right, for some people there. Fat guy at the buffet.
Yeah.
And you talk about, like, you know, staying focused or staying into it, because for sure that's always my biggest focus. And like I've spent a lot of time investing into this and so on, but like talking about having a podcast and opening doors and creating opportunities for myself, my biggest struggle is like, hey, let's do this. Hey, let's do that. Right. Like I'm looking here with what we're doing on the community side. And then we're looking like, man, like if this goes the way we wanted to go, we are going to have basically a directory of the top salespeople in the country.
Right.
And if we have a directory of the top salespeople in the country, we get to, you know, pick who we want to work with us, right? Whether on our wholesale team or our education team.
Right. Yeah.
And then from there, like, what are some additional opportunities? You know, could we have a placement agency, right? Like, it's just so many things you're always looking at. It's like, I wish I could just focus on what's in front of me.
Yeah.
But I'm always dreaming and wondering,
right.
What are the next things we can do?
And it's hard too, because you have to know what's working and which one to follow and which things to cut. Because sometimes it's like you can focus on things over here that's like making money, but this one would do better.
Yeah.
So it's like a constant battle on, like, what do you do?
Oh yeah, it's definitely a major struggle for myself. Real quick on YouTube, Ice wants to know, which would you learn first, Google Ads or Facebook?
Facebook.
Why is that?
Facebook is a lower area to entry because, and so on Google, you're in direct competition with investors. So you're paying $70, $100 a click, whatever it is. Facebook, you're competing with the shoe store and the bakery down the street, because Google, you're paying per click. Facebook, you're paying per impression.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a cheaper way to start getting into marketing.
Right. And you still get to learn the principles
Right.
of digital marketing. How do you stay motivated?
I'm built this way. I don't know.
Mhm.
I set goals. So I set big goals too. Like I set goals that I don't think I can hit to push that out so far.
Yeah.
Like I told you, I was losing weight, right? We were talking before. I don't know. We were talking to CG maybe or something. But I weighed like 237 pounds. I set a goal to get a 6-pack, just because even in business, like I don't want to set a goal that I'm going to hit in a month. It's got to be far out, because I'm going to go, once I hit it, it's over. You know. So that's kind of how I motivate. I just set unrealistic things and try to make them real.
Got it. And how will you know when you're successful?
I'm already successful. I guess it depends what you think of success.
Right. Well,
So-
your definition.
My definition of success, I think I'm pretty good right now.
Mhm.
Like I just keep pushing, but when you get the balance, like with me, I'm pretty close to being able to have a good balance in life. I think that's when you get success. Whenever you can do what you want and also afford to do whatever you want. You know what I mean? And find that balance. It doesn't necessarily, everyone's success is different. It's not rich. Like I'm not a flashy guy. I don't want Lamborghinis, things like that. But it's like, hey, if I want to take the family to Disney World tomorrow, we can just hop a flight, go book the VIP tour, and be good.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your superpower?
My superpower is fixing things and just working harder than anyone else, I think.
Mhm.
Like I like problems. And so I was asking Chad about it. I'm like, what's my superpower? It's like, dude, you fix stuff.
Mhm.
So I like problems. Like things that normally you can't figure out, that's what I like doing. He's like, you work harder. And he's like, I don't think anyone will outwork you.
Yeah.
So those are probably the combo.
It makes total sense to me from what I've seen. Totally believe that. What is your biggest regret?
I don't have regrets. I don't really have I'd say one of my biggest regrets, it's not necessarily a regret, but I probably should have never done it, is drink alcohol. But I'm more of a doer. So it's like even anything I want to do, I just do it. And I deal with failing, and I like being uncomfortable. So like I live for that.
Yeah.
So I don't really regret things. But I do a lot of things I shouldn't do.
So besides alcohol, what's the other poisons?
That's it. That's it right now. And working. I work too much. Like
Mhm.
my brain doesn't shut off. So that's a problem. That's a balance thing there.
Is it an ideation thing? Is it like you're always thinking of new ideas, or you're always like trying to figure out another way to solve an existing problem?
Both. It's more on, because I'm in a digital space. There's always different ways to do stuff. There's always different ideas. So my brain's constantly thinking all the time, hey, what can we do to be better?
Yeah.
What can we do to crush it? Like even sometimes I'm waking up in the middle of the night with ideas. It's like you can't shut it off, which is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah. Oh, it absolutely is. It definitely goes both ways. How did you learn your greatest lesson?
Greatest lesson? I don't know. It's good. It's a good. Elaborate on the question here.
Well, what is the biggest failure, or which failure have you learned the most from?
Well, the failure that I learned the most from was probably whenever I was in real estate, like we were talking earlier, when I lost everything and like really screwed me up. That taught me balance. It taught me don't get involved in shiny object stuff and balance your life. Like sleep, keep healthy, save money, don't get hooked up with tricksters, stuff like that. That's probably my top one there.
Yeah. So those are lessons you learned. What guardrails have you put in place to prevent yourself from falling victim into that again?
Did you ever read the book Richest Man in Babylon?
Yeah.
5 Laws of Gold. There's one page in there. I read that. That is the one that's helped me in business the most, because it's got 5 things like don't get involved with tricksters, don't look for unrealistic. Pretty much every business decision I make goes through that checklist. And I used to always get in stuff and I'd like lose all my money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So can you recite those 5 laws?
Let me think. So don't get involved with tricksters. Save 10% of your money. Make your money work for you. Don't partner with somebody that doesn't have experience in the business. Don't do business in areas you don't have experience.
Yeah.
So like if I were to, like for example, Chad, He's with me, and he wanted to get into real estate investing. I do real estate investing. That partnership makes sense.
Right.
Versus me, if I was going to partner with somebody on, I don't know, video camera or whatever. If I don't have experience in it and that other person doesn't have experience in it, it's just a dream.
Yeah.
Most likely you're going to fail. But if that other person does, like in a real estate space, if you have money, partner with the guy that's doing a lot of deals. But don't partner with a guy that's dreaming that's never done a deal, because you're probably going to lose your cash.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to someone last week, and they're like, dude, you should totally start like a real estate fund to take advantage of this commercial market. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, why not? I was like, because I'm going to go around, I'm going to ask Bryan for $100,000 to invest in commercial assets that I know almost nothing about.
Right.
Like, I don't need that pressure. Now, if I say, Bryan, I got a deal, I need $100,000 from you, I know when I've got that deal that Bryan's going to get paid back.
Right.
Right. But raising money for commercial assets, I don't know if I can handle. Like, I can figure out almost anything. I fear I have this unrealistic, irrational confidence. But borrowing money for an asset class I've limited experience with gives me all sorts of, like, that's the kind of stuff I'll lose sleep over.
Right. Yeah. And you're right, because it's like all that kind of stuff. It's just, yeah, you got to be really, really careful.
Yeah.
It'll just suck your time, and
Right. And now I got like, okay, not only did that deal not work, but now I owe Bryan money. How am I going to figure out how to pay him over all these years?
And then that puts you in a spiral.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. Another question from Ice. If you lost everything, where would you start?
If I lost everything, where I would start online. I would go back to Upwork. I'd start just freelancing, because it costs $0, and I'm trading knowledge for money.
What does that mean?
So it means if I lost everything, I know how to digital market. I would just consult with people to start. Be like, okay, let me help you accomplish your goals in exchange for a fee, like an hourly fee.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I was talking to my wife, and we're talking about, like, if we lost everything, what would you do? I was like, well, I'm not getting a job. She's like, why not? It's like, I'm unemployable.
Same. Yeah.
Like, you don't understand. Like, every boss will hate me.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be like, why are we doing this way? Why are we doing it that way? In learning about myself, Gary Harper kind of helped identify, like, looking at my predictive index. We talk about I'm going to do what I want, with whoever I want, whenever I want, however I want, right? Like that, like individualist. Like, I literally,
Right.
That's like the ultimate, like, I don't fit in a box.
Right.
But to top it all off, my objective is all the way to the right, which means if it doesn't make sense to me, I will never do it. Right?
Yeah.
I just can't imagine a scenario where a boss will be okay working, having someone like me report to them.
Right.
But I do think, though, in looking back, it probably would be in sales. I think, just stick me in a room where I can do high margin sales. I feel like I'd be pretty good in there until I get back on my feet.
I guess you're right. Yeah, sales is a good one too for me.
Yeah.
Sales or consulting, one of those.
Yeah. And so, we've talked a lot about digital marketing, but we really haven't really talked a lot about your particular service. If someone were interested in learning more about working with you, where should they go?
They're going to go to motivatedleads.com and they're going to mention Disruptors.
Got it.
And what we're going to do for anybody who comes through your show, we're going to toss in an extra $1,000 on their initial deposit, free leads.
$1,000.
$1,000.
Free leads.
You deposit $1,000, we give $1,000.
Got it. Okay, so I think you guys should definitely take advantage of that. Put in $1,000, get $1,000. This is like your employer was like the 401k match.
Yeah. You know what? I've never done it either. I just thought about it this morning. I'm like, what can I give everyone that makes sense? I'm only going to do it for like a week or something too. It's not going to be like crazy long, but that's a good gift for people.
There you go. So get $1,000 worth of leads if you're willing to invest $1,000 into your own business.
Correct.
That's fantastic. All right. So I want you to think about some last thoughts you want to leave some listeners with while I make a couple of quick announcements. Guys, again, you heard me talk about the sales community. I genuinely believe this is something that if you have not invested in yourself with us yet, it's something that can make a significant difference to your bottom line, right? Not just the top line, but your bottom line. I think sales is one of the fastest ways to grow revenue, right? I think marketing is important, what you're doing here. I think marketing is absolutely key. But if you can't convert the leads, it's all for naught. We were talking about earlier, I started doing my own PPC years and years ago. I had to learn all this on my own. And back then it was $2 a click, right? It was amazing. $12 a lead. It was wonderful, wonderful times. But I was a shitty, crappy salesperson. I couldn't close those deals, So I closed deals, but it's only because like you do enough marketing, you're going to close deals.
Right.
But I left so much money on the table. So if you guys are getting leads, but you aren't closing them, definitely check our community. Go to salesdisruptors.com. And please subscribe to our channel. Don't keep us a secret. And next we got Alex Quezada talk about self-storage and how he's raised over $30 million in private money. So what are some last thoughts you want to leave all the listeners with?
Well, first thing, talking about sales, it's only $97 a month, right?
Right.
People need to do that.
I feel the same exact way. I feel like we're giving it away at $97 a month.
Because I work with a ton of investors, and it's like that is one of the top things people don't know what to do like with those calls.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So $97 a month, no brainer.
Yeah.
Right. Top thing that I would want to leave people with would be just do if you have an idea, act. Like I see a lot of people in this space, especially people that are newer in this space. They come up with an idea in digital marketing, for example. Hey, I can't launch my website yet because I got to get my logo. I got to work on a copy. I got to do this. I got to do that. It's like jump in the pool and figure out how to swim.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm a believer in I'm jumping out of the airplane. I'll build the parachute on the way down.
Mm-hmm.
You'll figure it out or you'll fail, one of the two. But sitting there, that's how you get regrets.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you know what? I wish I would have done that.
Right.
I say just jump in and do it and smartly.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But like think about it, but just take action and start trying.
Well, I mean, that's 100% spot on. Because if you think about it, right? How many times has someone ever had a website fail because of the logo?
Right.
Or fail because of the copy? Like, copy is important. I'm not questioning the copy. But we're not talking about spending thousands and thousands and thousands on ads before you get your copyright.
Right.
But get the website up and running. And the other one I always laugh at is LLCs.
Yeah.
I got to get my LLC right. And again, it's important after you've done one deal.
Right.
After you've done one deal. But I've literally done thousands of transactions. I say I've been sued like 4 times, 5 times maybe.
Yeah.
Right? Like the likelihood of getting sued is outrageously low, but the attorneys make a killing selling fear.
Yeah. I get the LLC after I get it under contract.
Yeah.
I just signed, Bryan Driscoll signed it for an LLC to be formed.
Mm-hmm.
In Penn, I don't know if you can do that here, but in PA, that's what we do.
In Arizona, we totally could.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we just do enter assigns and then we just assign it to the LLC.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's stuff like that. It's like, just do it. Cause otherwise it's like, I know so many people, like even people I know, they're like, you know what? I'm going to get into real estate sometime. You know, it's like, just go out and find it. And it's way easier. I found it's way easier to make money and do deals than I thought it was. Like originally what I thought it was to be successful, it's not.
Yeah.
And it's very simple.
Right. How can someone get a hold of you?
Motivatedleads.com. Yeah. Just go to our website and fill out a form. Make sure to mention Disruptors.
Yeah. Last question here from Ice, and then we'll wrap it up. What's more valuable, marketing or sales? That's a tough one.
Ooh, so
Got a marketing guy, got a sales guy.
yeah, and I come from a sales background. So I would say probably sales. Because you can hustle.
Yeah.
You can go out and hustle. So you need to be able to sell to afford to pay for marketing.
Yeah.
So go out and sell people, make the money, reinvest it to marketing to save yourself the time.
Yeah. So I always say marketing is the first skill you got to learn. But if you can't sell them, it's all for naught. Right. So you got to learn both. Marketing, the good thing is you can hire a vendor.
Right.
Take care of that problem. But you can't hire a sales vendor for that.
Right.
Or at least I wouldn't.
Yeah. Sales is hard to hire.
Yeah. All right, cool. Perfect. So we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Bryan.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate you guys watching the show. See you guys tomorrow on Pardon the Disruption. If you enjoyed what you just watched, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another video.